technical. There we go. Back at it.
All right. They won't
There we
even know
go.
that we were gone, except for the fact that we said we were. Yeah, it
And
must be. I think it was an error with the Zoom app itself, because
Yeah.
as soon as I started, it was working just fine again. So
it just cut your
Yeah.
video feed out, and it still existed. But yeah, we'll just have we'll have like a part 1 and a part 2 on YouTube. Otherwise, the audio will just be connected via the program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should just listen to the audio anyway. Who wants to just sit here and watch our faces on YouTube? At least somebody does. At least a handful of people do.
Yeah, let's find out how many people. Let's just give everyone an inside look at
the lack of people who
fails,
watch the
at our
YouTube channel.
failure. Fleeting Thoughts podcast brought to you by
5 people
let's see
in
here.
a Volkswagen Bug.
Oh, this is episode 1. Have you ever listened to episode 1?
No, I should go back and listen to our earliest episodes and just, see how much we've grown and matured over the years.
Yeah, a lot. You can tell by
and then what was our first episode where we were back, like our reboot, when we started it up? Was it
I don't know. It was the
this
beginning of
year?
this year. I think
God,
it was
it's been that long already.
I think it was
It's
just this
crazy.
year. Yeah.
I feel like we had just restarted it not that long ago. And then I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, no, we've been doing it like all fucking year, I think, like for the most part.
I guess I could find out and see. Reboot was around 9 months ago.
Oh, hello.
So around March, I suppose. Before that, I did a couple interviews. I interviewed Joey Edwards and Justin Abel, and I read my review for 1984. I read a short story I wrote and I did accents for everybody. That was funny. I did the same thing. Yeah, I did a couple of those. And then before that, it was 5 years between at least for the YouTube. I think we were still recording. We just stopped putting them on YouTube for a while.
Actually, I feel like 4 or 5 years is about right.
Yeah, because I've been in Portland.
You sort of
for
kept
like
it
5
alive
years.
Tangentially with random other things, but
yeah, kind of. If that's
it was like
alive.
that show that got canceled, before it actually hit its final season. It got cut short, and then due to fan demand, it came. We've come back like after all these years, and this is like the new rebooted series. It's not quite as good as it used to be, but people are still happy that it's back.
Yeah, they're like, we're familiar, so they're like, fuck it, that's fine.
The actors are still the same. It's still the same content.
Well, it's not like there was demand. We just did it. Like we just brute forced our way back onto the fucking internet. Podcasting is crazy. It like when we were doing it was nothing. It was literally like just for fun and like there weren't like a million people making tons of money on YouTube or on podcasts.
Patreon is like the big one that most people use for
to make money anyway. But I mean, as far as like viewership, like there just weren't that many people listening to podcasts. They were there, but it wasn't like a community and this whole culture. And then 5 years later, Conan has a fucking side podcast that he's doing on the side. It's like they found the market was there, and all these people were like, well, I guess that's the thing we need to do now.
Well, I think it's helpful if you're already a famous person who then starts a podcast.
Obviously,
it's like you're already going to immediately have like some kind of audience.
Well, it's like Joe Rogan's podcast. Well, he'd been doing it for a long time. He wasn't super famous at the beginning, but I'm thinking like maybe Mark Maron or something. Like it's not like part of the success is his already existing success. So if you start it from scratch, it has to be very, very entertaining and people have to find it and you have to advertise it. But if you're famous, you just do it, and then you already have platforms for telling people, and you have famous friends who can support it, which is nice. It's just kind of interesting.
More famous friends. We just don't have enough.
Yeah, let's use them.
Yeah, we need to get some famous friends.
I don't have any famous friends. I don't have that many friends. So
let's not.
Can you be famous?
I've
Just
tried.
do it. Just fucking do it.
I know.
Stop pussing out.
One day I'll sell out and make my own teenage vampire romance novel series, but I haven't gotten that desperate yet.
Teenage
Or whatever's
Mutant
popular now. I don't think
Vampires.
that's really a big deal now, but
No, it's over.
yeah. It was around for so long though. I mean, actually, that's still a very popular kind of subgenre in romance is the supernatural, either werewolf or vampire man. You'll find a whole bunch of those.
Chicks only want like uber men, like men that are just so much better than regular.
Yeah, they're
they
alphas.
Want the highest level man.
And they have this like beast inside them that the women are interested in sort of taming,
like Beauty and the
helping
Beast.
them. Yeah.
Where
I wonder if that's kind of where that
inside.
fantasy stems from is Beauty and the Beast. Like, think about all the young girls who grew up watching Beauty and the Beast, right? And then you grow up and it seems like a pretty obvious connection to make there.
I think it's
evolved
an
from that to
ancient archetype. The whole taming men,
the hardened, rough-edged man who needs to be softened by a woman's touch.
And in Beauty and the Beast, there's Gaston, who's actually like the go-to. Like you'd think he would be the one she would be into, but he's a psychopath and a fucking crazy person. He doesn't have the balance. He doesn't have the good part. But then you have the Beast, who is really a good guy who just looks bad and then is, capable.
But he also has anger issues. There's a turmoil there that has to be broken through.
But that's the balance. All men have this violence, but also nurturing side.
We're sensitive, really.
Yeah, we want to be. Well, that's the female. They want that. That's what they want. They want somebody who is both capable of massive aggression and violence and can, protect them and acquire resources, but also as nurturing at home. Yeah. They need to be giving and generous at home to the people that matter, which is
in more ways than one.
Wife and the
be
kids.
Very giving and generous.
And just bang that whole
generously.
Heart. Yeah, generously and with sensitivity, but real hard fucking pounding. It's a female fantasy. Beauty and the Beast.
Well, I'm going to tap into it at some point to break into the mainstream. I'll become very popular for
just rewrite it,
sort of something.
Just have it be like what's another, like the leopard and the lady.
The leopard and the lady. There we go. Nice, a little alliteration there.
A little alliteration. And that's what you do with the ladies. That's how you keep them around.
They call me alliteration Alan. Oh, why do they call you that?
That's why.
That would be like a super nerdy porn star name. I'm alliteration Alan.
Alliteration Alan. Alliteration anal. Is that what Alan really is? It's just a anagram.
He looks buttholes, front holes. He doesn't care. Ear holes, nose holes, mouth holes. Sometimes all of them at once.
That's a lot of licking.
Sort of passes it around.
It's gross.
Yeah.
I wonder why you're not famous. You say shit like that.
Every time I'm about to break through, I make a comment on this podcast and I get canceled online. Author Channing Cornwall licks buttholes.
Yeah, talks about licking all the holes and getting away with it.
Yeah. He calls himself alliteration Alan and talks about licking every orifice on a human body.
And he calls things front holes and back holes.
It's a vagina, young man.
God damn it. That's a
author Channing Cornwall doesn't know what a vagina is. On his most recent episode of Fleeting Thoughts podcast with Joe Gray, Channing referred to the woman's vaginal cavity as a quote front hole, end quote,
and made
stirring the feminist community into an uproar and calling for the cancellation of his
who's gonna cancel us? Like I'd have to just stop posting. Like that's not gonna happen unless Libsyn decides to. I don't think they care at all.
I was actually I was thinking about this not that long ago. I was like, I kind of don't ever want any of my books to take off, because what will happen is I'll have this crazy runaway success book become very popular and famous, and then people are gonna be like, oh, he has a podcast, and then they're gonna go back
and be
and
like,
like
oh, he's a
listen
piece of
to
shit.
all this weird shit that we talk about, and I'm gonna immediately be fucking canceled. Like for something
Yeah,
I
but
said
that
like 5 years ago that I don't even
but
remember
you're
saying.
you're would have already been famous. So that's the worth it. Like whatever money you get from that
Yeah.
is going to make it worth not getting the money later because you already aren't getting the money now.
That's the funny thing when like an actor or somebody gets canceled. I'm like, that dude's set. It just me now he
It's
just
all
gets to fade into
bullshit.
obscurity and then just have tons of money now.
You
So
don't
yeah,
cancel people. It's just popularity. People come
yeah.
and go, and that's the way it goes. People are just boycotting enough to like, and then I guess the person like Louis C.K.'s back. He's got another special. He didn't
I
get
listened to
canceled.
it and
Like,
I
what are you
liked it a
fucking?
lot. I thought it was
He's
fucking
great. He's
hilarious.
a fucking funny motherfucker. Who
I
cares? He's
was
a weirdo.
I was like, I don't know if there's like a rule for a timeline, but I was talking to Vanessa about this and I was like, but his new stand-up that came out earlier this year was fucking hilarious. He
Yeah,
even acknowledges all the shit that went down and makes some great
that's how
jokes
you do
about
it.
it. And I'm like, and now I'm
He's just
just
a
kind of back
person.
in. I
He didn't
don't
murder nobody. Even if he did, we forgiveness. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, like, isn't forgiveness a huge Christian trait?
exactly.
Like, but nobody wants to do it. Everyone's such
I mean,
hypocrites.
he faded into the background for a few years and then, slowly kind of came back. But it's like people just want such severe. I
They
think
want
really what
enemies.
this boils down to is that there's
Oh,
so many people that are envious and jealous of other people's success that they just want to see them torn down. Like they want them to lose everything because then it makes you feel better about
yeah.
yourself and your shitty existence and your own lack of
Well, you
success.
become a fucking virtue hero. You become
Yeah.
a fucking a hero of the right thing to do. And in a way, they probably are doing the right thing by calling him out and saying it's bad. But you're
Yeah.
not doing the right thing by making it seem like he fucking murdered 1,000 people
Well,
because
and
you
what's
don't know how to
interesting
have
too
perspective.
is in his case specifically, he had asked those women if he could do it, and they
Probably.
said yes. But
It's just
I understand the
gross.
argument that like people say is that he was wielding his influence and his power in the
He
industry
was
over
wielding his
these women.
dick.
Yeah, that too. And so it's like I get like he shouldn't have been putting him in the situations, but he didn't rape anybody. He just asked, "Hey, this is my thing that I like. Do you mind if I masturbate in front of you?" He agreed to it, probably even though they
We
didn't really
shouldn't
want
know
to.
about this.
Yeah.
It's fucking personal sexual stuff. Even if it's
Yeah.
weird, it's not my business. It's just
Well,
gossip.
that's one of my favorite parts of his new stand-up is he's like, everybody has their weird sexual thing that they like. The difference is everybody knows what mine is now. And
Mhm.
so just be
You
happy that
think
yours
that
gets
there
to stay a
aren't,
secret.
I guarantee there's chicks who are like, do it
There's women
now
out there that
because they
are probably
know.
like, I wish he would have masturbated in front of me.
Of
like
course there are.
it
I yeah,
would be
I
different
mean,
if he was accused of like raping women, he's like he drugged women like Bill
that's
Cosby style
illegal.
and was raping. I'm like, okay, that's a fucking crime and he should be in prison. And yeah, like
It's totally
no.
different.
But this is his case specifically, which it felt grimy, and I didn't. It was like I literally haven't listened to his stand up in a few years, like really since this whole thing went down. I haven't listened to any of it, and then I saw that he had a new special, and I'm like, I'm just curious. Like he used to be one of my favorite comedians. I just want to
Yeah.
hear his new special. Now I'm sort of just back on track again. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna. I went back and like listened to some of his old stuff because I haven't
Yeah.
listened to it in years, and yeah, it's tough.
He's not a moral hero. He's a
No,
comedian.
it's a community.
That's it.
And any famous person has done some shit. I almost guarantee it. It would be like almost impossible, I think, to find any musician, actor, comedian who hasn't done some questionable things in their life to probably get to where they were, or have been in situations that were inappropriate. You know, I mean,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
saying all of them do, but I feel like most of them have probably done some things where they would
We're
be
not
canceled,
like
quote
we're not
unquote.
the moral judges of everybody. Like we want to be and we feel like we should, but like we have laws. I don't care about other people's weird like semi-moral failings. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
problem too is there's a concept that like you have morally neutral things and sex is morally neutral for the most part. Like it doesn't have a moral aspect. We don't have to sit there and go this is good sex, this is bad sex, this is weird sex, this is good sex. It that doesn't exist. That's just made up. That's just us being puritanical and judgmental. There's illegal sex, which is like
Mm-hmm. Rape
rape
and
and
yeah.
child molestation, and that is a problem. That is like a law. There's a law to protect people. But otherwise, sex is not moral. The only moral aspect to sex is going to be related to having kids and to abortion. Those are two moral aspects of sex that come from the outcome of sex, but not the sex itself. And so if you have sex with protection and it's consensual, no matter what you're doing, it's totally neutral. It doesn't need to be judged. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like gay sex. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It has no effect on me. Why am I, you don't, I don't, you shouldn't have an opinion on it. I mean, you can have an opinion, but you shouldn't try to.
Well, I can see your
anything
opinion
with
being, I'm not really interested in being,
around
penetrated
it.
in my anus, but
that's a totally different thing.
but I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
it's just so
I just mean
silly.
in terms
It's
of
just gossip.
Yeah.
It's just people going, "Ooh, I don't like it," so they should stop it. But fuck you. You're not in charge.
Yeah.
I hate that people
I
think
honestly,
they're in charge of everybody.
the only thing anybody can really do to make any kind of statement would be to just ignore something and not give it attention
There's got to be other
or
shit going
money.
on.
Like if you're really one of those people that were like strongly against Louis C.K., for example, the best thing you can do is be like, yeah, I don't like that guy. I don't like the
I don't
things
buy
that
his
he was
stuff.
accused of. I don't find appropriate. So I don't listen to his stuff anymore. I don't buy his albums or watch his specials on Netflix or whatever. Same with like Dave Chappelle. It's like, if you don't like the fucking jokes he's making, then just don't listen. Just be like, yeah, I just didn't appreciate his jokes. I didn't think they were funny. So I just stopped listening to him. You don't need to like go on Twitter and then do hashtag kill Dave Chappelle for having fucking transsexual jokes or whatever. It's like, just the only way you can ever, like, especially in a capitalistic society, the only statement you could ever make is with your wallet. Like, if you don't like a company because they're have child slave labor in China, then don't buy their products. Because if enough people stop buying their stuff, then maybe it'll force them to make some kind of change or change.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you bitch about it on Twitter and then turn around and just buy more of the stuff, like, the company doesn't care. All they want's your money. So it's like, unless you stop giving them money, they're just going to keep doing what they do to have the highest profit margins. So yeah, that's what annoys me when people are just like armchair advocates. It's like, well, just shut the fuck up. If somebody asks you, oh, did you listen to the new Louis C.K. stand-up? Then you could say, no, I haven't, because of all the impropriety allegations against him from a few years ago. I've just kind of fallen off of what he does. And there you go. That's where you let the conversation die. You don't have to go into a long history or tell people what you think unasked.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird that we have access to all these people and their info.
I wish that we didn't. I don't like, it's like,
I don't mind. I just think it's weird. I think it's hard to differentiate between what's important in life and not important with all of the media. The media makes everything seem important. In Portland, the media. I only listen
in Oregon.
To
everything
media.
Takes place in Portland. I don't think any other place exists in Oregon.
It doesn't. The media makes it seem like things are important that aren't, and that's the problem. It's the same as gossip. It's like people who they're like, did you see what Karen did the other day? She did this thing, and it's like the way they say it seems like it matters, but then you think about it, and it doesn't matter at all. Because
she farted on that turtle that Gary bought in his masturbation dreams the other day,
and she
farted on it.
Yeah,
and it was a huge deal. I think we need to do something.
It's you know what it is. It's the same
turtle,
thing.
I guess
that chicks, yes, it's the same thing that chicks do when they have a dream and they blame the husband.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking crazy, and it's an issue with like learning what to ignore in your brain. There are things that happen in your head that don't matter, that thoughts that don't matter, and you should fucking ignore them and they don't matter. Just stop it.
I've luckily never had that happen. I don't think I've ever had somebody be mad at me because of a dream that they had.
It's like a joke that females do, but I know they really do it. They really like think that it's a premonition of some sort.
ESP action going on there.
It's superstitious and it's ridiculous, and I think that's a lot of gossip and such is just a waste of time.
It's another thing with social media is it reminds me of like, because I remember as a kid, when you're checking out, they have the magazine racks and stuff, and it's like there's always People magazine or these different. And I'm like, I remember as a kid, I'm like, why do people read? Like, why would you care about the life
Yeah,
of this famous person? I don't understand. Like, you have your own life and your own
they don't. They don't.
people. And so but that's kind of like what Twitter is now, or the internet generally, and social media is. It's just like we're all just constantly absorbing People magazine now because we're all just
Mhm.
watching. Um,
Yeah, I think it has to do with our really, really innate um need to understand reputation. Reputation is like everything to us in a social world. We just overemphasize the reputation of people that don't affect us. And so the reputation of actors in their real life or something is huge on our minds because we think that they're part of our community and we have to make sure we keep the right people in our community. But really, we should be concerned about like the actual activities and reputations and trustworthiness of our neighbors, because they're really the like in our politicians. And like those are the people who affect us more directly, but they're more secretive because they're not famous.
mhm,
So we have this totally natural desire to understand the reputations of people and to display them and tell people about them. That's what gossip is. Gossip
mhm,
is ladies using reputation as a weapon to um, talk about each other and men in a way that either supports them or destroys them. And that's like a weapon for women, is this intellectual, um, reputational kind of option. And I think men are more traditionally like they are more about deeds, more about action. Like, did he kill the thing or did he not? Did he hide? Did he get scared?
mhm,
Those are our reputational things that men care about other men, but they're visual. They're not as they're more like on the surface. Like we can tell if a dude is an asshole. We can tell if they're a fraud. If they, if their deeds did that. Whereas chicks have to like um kind of infer reputation more because their activities were more subtle, where ours is more obvious. Does that
mhm.
make sense at all? I'm trying to think of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
ancient people, not necessarily people now, but
yeah.
how it's led to the current um situation of gossip. And men do gossip tons, and we care about each other's reputations, and as we have less physically demanding things, we rely more on other things to talk about reputation. Um, that's why we care about like what our jobs are and stuff with each other. Like, what's your job? What do you do? It
Mhm.
has to do with like your value to the team, to the
Well, I
community,
also think people are always constantly comparing their own lives against their peers to sort of figure out like
where
how
they are
well
in the
they are
hierarchy.
doing. Yeah, like
Yeah,
where you are in the hierarchy. Like,
it's huge
oh, does this
important.
person own a house? Do they have a
Yeah,
new car? Like, what's their job? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're always just constantly comparing ourselves to others just to make sure that we're not falling too far behind, or like to try to gauge if we're sort of on the same page as everybody else in our peer group. Because I feel like people always have a kind of inherent desire to fit in and not fall behind. And so I feel like
sure.
the best way to do that is to sort of gauge based off of material value that you have or you
Yeah.
can offer
Well,
anyway.
and if you can convince others that that person who is above you is not above you, then you become above them. So
Hmm.
it's not like you don't potentially gain something from judging everybody. You could potentially become higher in the hierarchy if you can convince everyone that you are.
Hmm.
And so that kind of like fraud and lies and gossip mongering has value, so it propagates throughout culture. I think it's just not very noble and it's not very virtuous, and it can lead to a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So there's also a kind of disgust that some people have toward that behavior, that kind of uh, throwing people under the bus kind of situation for your own gain when you could be working together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
People just in general, I think, just need to focus
On
just
God.
more on their own lives. Like just focus on what you've got going on. Stop worrying about what other people are up to and what they're doing. And
Yeah.
Unless somebody comes and asks you for advice for a problem that they have, then shut your fucking mouth about it. It's like just worry about your own shit.
Yeah. Like think of like what are you going to do in the future to make yourself better?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck everybody else. You're not in control of them. And I don't know. That would be nice. Like we were
Yeah.
talking about with stoicism, like don't worry about what is not in your control. What's in your control is what you do, and you choose to gossip about people, and you don't have to do that. And you could just use that energy to think about what you're going to do next in your own life, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to what other people are up to. Um, but I guess it's not as interesting to talk about, maybe.
Well, I
Like
think
if
too, people just don't have anything to do these days. And so I feel like if you're not like a somewhat creative individual that can like foster projects for yourself to
your
think
own,
on
yeah,
and to work on, like I feel like you just sort of fall into this social trap of just talking about other people because
yeah,
you don't
what
have
they're up
much
to.
else. Yeah.
Well,
Because I
people
feel
don't
like I
do
spend,
anything.
yeah. I just feel
People,
like I spend most of my day fucking thinking about my book. Like, because a lot
yeah,
of writing takes place away from the computer. Like a lot of the
yeah,
writing is like is you thinking about it and sort of rolling it around in your mind throughout the day. And then when you sit down to write, it's less you coming up with the story and more like you um like kind of laying the
translating it.
like translating your thoughts
Yeah,
to the screen basically. Like the story's already there. It's like already been told.
yeah,
You're just trying to figure out how to like sort of excavate it from the fucking thoughts in your
yeah.
mind. So like I've that's what I spend like most of my day doing is like if I'm not actively working on something like at work, I'm just sort of sitting there. It's like usually me just almost essentially daydreaming in a way. I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen next? How's this gonna work?
Yeah, I think more
So
people should engage in creative artistic expression, just so they don't like just sit around judging everybody else and getting
mhm,
all worked up about other things. It's a good activity for your, because we have so much downtime. It's like, what do you spend your downtime? You can spend your downtime like trying to be a hero when you're very unqualified, or you could spend your downtime expressing yourself through some artistic form which has no real opportunity to hurt anybody. Which I
mhm.
think part of art, how art differentiates itself, is that you can't hurt someone with art. I think that's like you can offend them and maybe they get psychologically hurt, but you can't physically, like, I don't know. I was trying to think of an art form that hurts people, and I don't think it exists. And I think it sort of goes against my definition of art.
No,
Like
I agree.
if
Like if you
you're,
don't like something, then don't read it, don't look at it, don't,
yeah,
don't watch it. Like whatever, don't listen to it. I mean, whatever form of art that it takes. If I mean, if you start to experience and you're like, oh, no, no, this isn't for me, then nobody's like forcing you unless they're physically restraining you to a chair, duct taping your
yeah,
eyes open to like force you to look at something, then just don't engage with it.
yeah.
And then if somebody asks your opinion, just like, yeah, it's not for me. I don't enjoy
Well,
like
and
a slasher film or something. It's like I don't enjoy the
yeah.
violence, and I just don't find it interesting.
Well, and while somebody's creating the art, they aren't engaging in violence. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's an artistic expression. Like when you're writing the book, you can't be hurting someone at the same time. You can't write and hurt someone. You can't paint and hurt someone. So it's like the more you're engaging in art, regardless of the outcome of the art, even if it's shit, even if nobody appreciates it, while you're doing it, you're not able to assault someone or hurt someone or rape someone or you know what I'm saying? Like there's a type of, like, is there an art form that while doing it, you're hurting someone? I
No, I
don't
don't
think
think
that's
so.
possible because I think art can't be done coercively. It just wouldn't be art. It would be something else. It would be violence or it would be
Mm-hmm.
something else. Um, it's like, so if you have like some, there's some similarity to sports in that, like, you could call, like, I don't think there's, I don't think karate is an art form. I think called a martial art because there's a certain level of discipline and repetition, and there's some similarities to art. But when you're beating somebody in the face, I don't think that's an art form. I think sports are different from art.
Mm-hmm.
They just engage in different levels of expression. Like I don't know if what you're expressing when you're pummeling somebody with your fists. You know what I mean? You're expressing your own skills,
your own
but it's not
superiority.
art.
You
I
are
don't
the
think it's
alpha.
art. Yeah, it's totally. I think there's. I've been trying to figure out like the definition of art, and
Well, wait, wait, what if you were a painter and the only type of paint you used was another person's blood? So you would pummel them in the face to extract blood from their nostrils to then paint your painting with. I mean, that's a really specific case.
yeah, I guess the art would be in the painting though, not in the other part.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so weird. I don't know if there's.
I wonder if
But
there's
would
ever
you do it
anybody out there that would do that,
under?
but
Would you be? Why don't you just get blood from yourself? You know what I mean? Like it seems like you're going out of your way to be violent, and that in and of itself is a separate thing to your art.
yeah.
You're not expressing yourself through the violence, you're just hurting someone. And then the art, I guess if people knew how you got the blood and that's like what makes
And that
people
like that's
excited,
what yeah, that's
that would
this
be a
is
different
this
kind of
this
art.
painting is made up of like 20 different people's nostril blood after being punched in the face by the artist.
But did
That could
he
be interesting.
is the artist in jail because of all these assaults, or did the people
I guess that's
say that it's
true, right?
okay?
Yeah. Like if somebody signed a waiver saying, yes, you can
Yeah,
punch
I
me in
want
the
to be
face
part of
to
your
add my
art
blood.
program.
Yeah.
So I guess that is I couldn't come up with a case like that, but then maybe that ruins my
I
idea
don't
that
think that
art
it,
can't be
I mean,
violent.
maybe it exists, but I was just trying to think of something that would really try to fly a bit in
Like
the
let's say
face of
you
what you were talking
filmed
about.
that. If you film somebody punching people to get blood to paint, is the film a type of art because the person who's making the film is expressing uh some reality that they need people to know about so that they can feel this hatred or disgust toward violence? Is that art?
I would
Or
assume
is it
so.
just a fucking snuff film? Like, you know what I
Yeah, well,
mean?
I was
I
gonna say,
don't
I
get
feel
it.
like
I don't know.
I think the line would be drawn at how willing the participant was, right? The person being assaulted. If it's against their will, it's a crime, right? You're assaulting somebody. But if they sign something or have agreed to be, struck in the face for the purpose of all of this art, I don't know. I thought that would be the deciding factor as to whether or not it is like an issue, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's determines whether it's a crime or not, but is it still violence if it's voluntary? I don't know.
Well, I guess it would be to some extent. It's a
Like
physical
it's
action
not
causing harm to
if
somebody. So,
it's not rape if it's wanted.
hmm
So it's not rape. It's not violent. Even if it looks super violent, it's not technically violence because the person is not they might be feeling physical harm, but they aren't describing it as unwanted, which
well,
is
and I
a
guess
different type of harm.
I was gonna
There's
say, I
two different
guess
types of
it
harm.
also depends not only on the person's consent, but then maybe their enjoyment, because there are people out there who enjoy very rough sex. Like that's like the only way they can get off is to be really fucking physically pounded. Maybe there are people out there who enjoy being struck in the face. Maybe it makes them feel alive to
Right.
feel some pain or something, so they like
Masochistic
agree.
sadism and such.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of relativity involved in subjectivity involved in what I'm talking about. Art
Mhm.
is 100% subjective in my opinion. So it's very difficult to define something that is so personally described. It's but I want there to be a definition of art, and I want that definition to be almost entirely positive. I don't know if I want there to be a definition of art that includes anything that could be considered negative um to humanity.
Mhm.
Like it could be negative in that people get offended, and I love that. That's important because people should get offended. But I don't want that. I don't like the idea that somebody can engage in an art form that ultimately is bad for society and for other people. Like because it hurts them
Mhm.
or like I don't think like a snuff film would never be art to me, even though it elicits emotion. There's certain media involved because it involves hurting someone else. Even if they wanted it, I don't see that as being good. I don't see how watching that could be good for humanity. Like watching that art form, engaging in that art form would be good for humanity. Even if the person agreed to being killed on tape,
Mhm.
if there are people who watch that and enjoy it, that's a problem for me. Sadism is a problem for me. Psychoticism is a problem for me. So anything that sort of glorifies it and doesn't lessen its existence is bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call that art. So I think if you do that, fuck you, you're not engaging in art. You're just using the term art to justify what you're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use the term art to just say, oh, it's art. We can do whatever we want. And I think there has to be some limitation to what we call art.
Well, I mean, and snuff film would be a pretty extreme case,
Yeah.
I'm sure, I mean, they exist, but I don't, it's not a very commonly done thing, I hope so.
No, and I
and
think
most of the
generally
time
we
it's-
tend toward things that are not
yeah.
like that.
Well, it's interesting because, like, sometimes people will read my books and they'll be like, "Oh my God, how could you write that? Like, how could you write this character being killed or this child being killed?" I'm like, oh, it's fake. I don't know. It's just part of the story. And again, it allows me an
Yeah.
opportunity to, I guess, kind of explore that idea of what that might feel like, or what maybe happened, or what the aftermath of something like that would be. But I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
like
and
when people read something and then they just assume, like, oh, like Channing killed a kid in this book. He's obviously interested in child killing. It's like, no, it's just sort of organically what happened in the story. It fit with the character's actions and gave me an opportunity to explore, like,
when it
trying to
creates
maybe be in the
motivations
mind of
for
somebody who would
characters.
kill a child, but
Yeah.
not. I would never advocate for murdering children in real life. That's why it's
Well,
fiction.
and the context of the story is that the murder of the child is bad and somebody gets revenge because of it.
Mhm.
So it's ultimately bad because there's more death involved because of it. So
Yeah.
if you kill a child, then you're just creating more death in the world, not because of the child, but because of the revenge that comes afterward.
Mhm.
So there's lots of negative stories are great for telling moral
Yeah.
things, but so like also part of art is it has to elicit emotion. I don't think if you look at something like a photo or a painting and there's no emotional expression, no emotional reaction, then I don't think that is quality art. It's like an attempt at art, but it
Mhm.
doesn't become art until there's an emotional reaction from someone. It could be the artist who has the emotional reaction from it, but if you have a story with no conflict, then there's no emotional reactions, so it's not art.
Yeah.
Like if you have just a boring statement, it doesn't become art unless that statement becomes emotionally impactful, in my opinion. Like there has to be emotion and there can't be any real harm being committed is two things I would put into the definition of art. And again, you can't hurt someone while you're typing. Like you're not
Yeah.
beating your wife while you're typing. So I'd rather you were typing. I'd rather you were creating art than you're creating violence.
Well, see, that's when, like, the argument that which always annoys me, because it always gets brought up, and it's been brought up numerous times, especially like for video games and books and film, is like, oh, somebody reading or watching this violence happen makes them want to go be violent in the real world. It's like, no, that's a sign of, if a person watches or plays like a violent game and then they feel this desire to go out and shoot somebody, that's indicative of a different problem entirely, which is that person's mental well-being, than it is the violence that they participated in an imaginary setting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they bring that up a lot, like when there's a school shooting, it's like there's always a crowd that wants to blame the violent games or the violent movies or whatever. And it's like, no, this
Yeah.
child obviously was not mentally well and was not cared for properly by their parents, and
Yeah.
got fostered into.
That's why people have they have a bad definition of art and a bad definition of violence. They don't really understand the two concepts, so they get them all mixed up. And they think that art is violence. And it's just that, to me, that can't really happen because I have a definition of art that doesn't allow that. And there's a difference between real violence in a child's life leading toward psychoticism, which is a known phenomenon, and fake violence leading toward a kid being ultra creative and interested in certain histories or something like there. And it doesn't mean that if you give a kid a ton of violent media as they're like growing up, like, from 1 to 10, all they do is watch real depictions of murder, they're probably going to grow up to be a fucking psycho. because that's all they've ever interacted
Yeah.
with. But if you take a 9-year-old who's already lived a normal, childhood, and then you give them a PlayStation and you say, hey, play, 1,500 different games that are all have different things going on. And well, a lot of them involve violence, that kid's going to now be violent. And if that was the case, everyone would be murdering everybody all the time. And we have
Yeah.
less instances of violence than ever in history. So technically speaking, as far as I know,
So many more people would be dead. But
except in Portland, where our fucking murder rate went 1,000% over during COVID. So
it happened during COVID. I feel like it. Oh,
yeah, in the
you
last
think it
like
would
2 years.
maybe spike like after some of the lockdowns were ending or something? People were free to.
No, it wasn't normal people killing each other. It's all gang activity because we have no police in the fucking area.
Oh yeah.
It's not normal. Yeah. People aren't murdering each other with guns.
Cabin fever.
It's not
how.
Yeah, it's not that. That's not even happening at all. All it is our gangs became more active. Our murderers and gang violence and a lot of like turf wars and stuff just went through the roof because we defunded the police in Portland, and they're not able to deal with it.
Yep.
So anyway,
police are as essential as much as they are potentially a hazard and a problem. So
yeah, it's a bummer.
Balancing scale that's going to
it's like
be solved.
if like the only way to put out a fire was to like create the exact opposite fire, and sometimes you fucked it up. So we'd have a police department that every once in a while burned a house down when they were trying to save it, but they made it worse, and they burned the next house, and they burned the next house. And so we'd have to have this real interesting conversation about how to stop fires and how to deal with firemen who fuck up and want to mess up on their job. But since putting out fires is water, it's a totally different situation. But putting out murders is murder. You need murder to kill murderers. You know what I mean? Like you need guns to stop people with guns.
Yeah.
So it's a fire meets fire situation with cops, and it's very volatile, and we just have to be aware of that and try to mitigate it with intelligence and technologies and better people. That's my metaphor for the day.
I feel like you could talk to 10 different people about that problem, and you'd probably get 10 different answers as to the solution for it. So
yeah, and 5 of them would be dumb as fuck.
At least, yeah.
And overconfident. Do you want to wrap it up a little bit here? We got a little bit here. We were going to talk about The Witcher, but I'm just going to make that my recommendation. So that's my recommendation. Watch The Witcher. Watch The Witcher, the movie. It's actually really, really good. The Nightmare of the Wolf.
Oh yeah, I need to watch this. Still, the animated
super good. Yeah.
Film.
It's
because isn't that like a prequel that follows Vesemir, right? When he was younger. Yeah.
Yep. And it's it kind of explains how Kaer Morhen got damaged. And it's really good. I was really impressed. I'm not into anime, so I didn't want to watch it for a while, but then I just was like, fuck it, it's Witcher.
Yeah, you should if you're interested in following a little bit more down the rabbit hole, is you should watch the Castlevania series on Netflix as well.
I love
you have?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, because
it's the best anime
Vanessa
ever.
was hesitant to watch it because she's not big into anime, and I'm like, it's animated. It's an anime style, but it's not the anime
very
acting
accessible.
and writing. It's a much more mature. Because a lot of people's problem with like anime is that it's very Japanese. So there's a particular type of acting and melodrama usually associated with it that people can't get on board with. But with like Castlevania, it looks like an anime, but it is performed in a much
it's written for a Western audience. So it's much more our kind of stereotypes and archetypes.
Yeah.
The Castlevania, I ended up watching the last episode with Joey, my buddy. He was just happened to be on the last episode. He'd already watched. I watched the last episode and I was like, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this in animation ever. It was so epic, and the characters were so well done, and the acting was so adult but fun, kind of like The Witcher, where like it's not like majorly melodramatic. The characters are like real people, like they have like a personality and different things. And then I just watched the whole season.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of levity and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem. A lot of this stuff, it's like too serious, too melodramatic. It's like in reality, everybody kind of tries to make some jokes here and there, because if we were all just super dour all the time, we'd fucking just kill ourselves probably. So it's like,
well, and people don't get along with people who aren't like them. So if you're the kind of jokey person and the other person is never jokey, it's like it gets a little hard. It's kind of like Geralt is just so stoic that
But even
anyone
he
who's
cracks some
I
funny
know, and
jokes
every
every once
once
in
in
a
a
while.
while he'll play along. He'll hug somebody, and it's like it's even more meaningful because he's not one dimensional.
Yeah.
But anyway, The Witcher is great. There's a making of that you can watch after the show, which is really good. So anything The Witcher, even the game is really good.
Yeah, Vanessa's playing The
But
Witcher 3 right now because
I like the show and the I like the media more than the game for sure.
the game, yeah, the game's
Personally,
great, but the show's really good. I think it's because the game you spend so much time sort of just wandering around
yeah,
exploring, whereas the show it obviously is very focused on telling you a story with characters and stuff. Um,
yep.
I want to read the books. I think I'm gonna start them. It's just like there's like a couple of like sets of short stories that they published as like a novel, and then there's like I think 5 or 6 primary books in like the series. So it's kind of like a big undertaking, but I do want to just start reading it because it's a world that I enjoy and I'm kind of interested to just delve into it. Since the show seems to they from what I understand is pretty faithfully adapting the books as it's kind of going along.
Well, they have the
So,
main writer of the books as a
mhm.
consult.
Well, and they said that they have like a 7 season plan for the show where they want to spend each season adapting one of the books so
Yeah.
that they can just kind of cover the whole thing. So, because The Witcher 3, the game, actually, I think it takes place after all the books and stuff are over. It's like I guess, like almost an epilogue of the series in a way. Anyway, my recommendation for this week is a novel that I read it years ago and then I listened to the audiobook recently because I haven't participated in that story in a while. Is the Deep by Nick Cutter. Um, it's a interesting, like kind of psychological horror novel about a veterinarian who goes to his brother calls him to come visit him in this lab. So the setting for the book is it takes place during like sort of a pandemic of sorts where people are afflicted with this thing they call the gets, where they gradually forget. It's like a really vicious Alzheimer's where it starts off with like people forgetting like simple things and then it quickly progresses to the point where they just die. Because like they talk about how you forget little things, then major things, then vital things. Like your body will like literally forgets that it needs to breathe or your heart needs to beat. And so it's like your body just eventually shuts down. And so the story centers around this veterinarian because his brother's a scientist trying to find a cure for the disease. And so they find this substance at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and have like a lab down like 8 miles beneath the surface of the ocean while they're extracting this like substance they call ambrosia that they are like injecting into mice. And it literally like they'll cut like a mice's head off and then the ambrosia like stitches it back together and brings it back to life. And so they're basically like researching this like strange biological material that they found at the bottom of this trench um, as a way to maybe cure the gets along. And then obviously it's a horror novel, so much of horrible things happen. But it's a
Nice.
very like psychologically driven story. It goes through a lot of the trauma that the main character and his brother went through as kids. Like their mother was this abusive, like very overweight woman who was like emotionally abusive to them and their father. And it's a really interesting book. It's dark as shit. But it's really good. It's not quite as much about the plague itself as like they kind of like when you first start reading it, you feel like it's going to be about them solving this issue with this pandemic, but really it ends up becoming more of a personal tale of people and their trauma from their childhood.
Sounds awesome.
It's really good.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
enjoyed
really
it.
good actually. I unfortunately need to take a break. I've been holding it the whole time. I just give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna put it on pause so you don't have to vamp or anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. I was
No,
trying
it's
to
all
make
right.
it, but I'm gonna die. Just a second. I
Feel
we're,
better now?
we're back. Oh my god, dude. Like the last like 20 minutes, I was like, oh, I could probably make it. And then while you were talking, I was like, oh, I'm gonna piss my pants. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna die. I didn't want to interrupt you and I didn't want to just stop, but I was like,
You should have just peed.
I
You should have
know, I
just peed.
know. I don't know. I'm not committed.
Well,
I need more
I
commitment.
have some news that transpired while you were relieving yourself. I got a
Oh my
message from
god.
Amazon and they reshipped that order to you. It wouldn't
Good.
let me change the address, so they're coming to your fucking apartment again.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I've
because
gotten
I
things here
reported the package
before,
is
but
missing because they were like, "Oh, was there an issue with your package?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was never received." And then
yeah,
I like talked to a customer service person. I told them that it said that it was delivered and handed to a resident. I was like, but it was not the person that it was supposed to be delivered to. I don't know who it was given to. He doesn't
yeah,
have it.
I
I was
don't
like, so
know.
can we just have the same items resent to the resent out? Can like, and he was like, oh yeah, we can do that. And so then I was waiting for them to send me a confirmation thing back saying that they resent the stuff. So
Nice.
hopefully those ones actually make it into your hot little hand this time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love books and I want to get more books. And I've had things just on my porch before.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened. I think it, it could have been a total lie, or it could have just been one of my neighbors took it,
Yeah, it's
you
just
know.
maybe they opened and they're like, actually, I kind of want to read these, so I'm not
That's
gonna give them back.
that's the thing about, it's hard to get mad about people stealing books
I
because they're
know,
so
right?
good. Like, I don't like, go read the book, but could you give
Yeah,
it to me afterward or something? Like, give it back. Like, it's just a book. Like, it's
yeah.
not like it doesn't have a ton of value other than after it's been purchased.
It's different if it was like a TV or something. You're like, motherfucker, where the fuck is
Well,
my
that'd
TV?
be,
But like books, it's like, well, I just inadvertently gave somebody the gift of reading, so
yeah, the gift
I
of
hope they
like,
enjoy the
yeah,
books.
some lovely adventure and stories in their life. It's hard to be too mad about it, but it's
Yeah.
still kind of like, well, I want to read the
I
book.
was just annoyed because I was like, oh, because I was excited because they were going to show up like right before Christmas. So
I
I was like,
know.
oh, there we go. Like, I'll have a nice little early Christmas gift.
What sucks is that I was heading to a friend's house that day, and as I'm in the Uber on the way, it said it had been delivered, and I'm like, oh well, it'll just be waiting on my thing when I get home,
Mhm.
and it wasn't there. So I thought maybe they put it in my mailbox or something, and it wasn't there either. So,
You could have just
uh,
been swiped. I mean, they were saying that that's been an issue. This, I mean,
of
it's
course,
probably always an issue, but they said I was reading, I actually saw in like the local news where like people were swiping packages left and right off people's porches. So you might have just been
yeah,
that.
they need to stop putting them on fucking porches. We need to solve this problem because we're gonna
Yeah.
keep getting stuff from. Everyone needs that little lock box where they can stick
Mhm.
it in the top, and then you have to open it with a key.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor with one of those.
Well, it's too bad they don't have like an office at your apartment. Because like when the last time we lived in an apartment, if we weren't home, they would just take it over and
Yeah.
leave it with the person in the office, and then they would just send like when the delivery thing, it would just say draw left at the office or
Yeah.
whatever. So I just
Our
stop by on my way
our
home.
office is not at the property. We
Mm,
don't have an office here.
yeah.
We have the office is on a totally different street down the road, and the people own like 15 complexes.
Hmm.
So they don't give a shit.
They're
So
just it's the Wild West
they're
over
over there.
there.
Well, you can't even go there anyway. With COVID, you can't even go to the office. It's completely not open to the public. They just do their work there as employees, and then everything's through email and
Hmm.
phone, which I think is just, they were so happy to not deal with people.
Oh,
They're
I
like,
would be too. I mean, come on.
oh, people were in there all the time bitching, complaining, and they had to
Hmm.
actually deal with it like customer service representatives that they are. And now they don't.
I that's one thing I've loved about the whole pandemic is I just prefer conversing with people through email. Like if I like, if I need something done with like Comcast, it's like, can I send you guys like a fucking email or do this online and then just write back to me when it's finished? I don't want to get on the phone, sit on fucking hold for 15 minutes
Yeah.
waiting to talk to somebody, navigate a bunch of menus. It's like, can I fucking email you and just say, my internet's not working. Can you please tell me what's going on? Like what's happening? And then just write back, give me a response and help me fix the
Yeah.
problem. But yeah. Anyway, so be on the lookout for your new books next week. It looks like they're
Yeah.
shipping them from like different places, so it might be coming in like 2 or 3 different
It's probably good.
boxes.
It gives me more of an opportunity to get it. Let
Maybe
me
you'll get at
know.
least like 2 of them or something, and
I
then
think
one.
you set it up so that I get an email confirmation as it gets delivered. Um, so hopefully I'm either here or I'm going to be here soon or
Mhm.
something. I have everything sent to my work. So
Oh, yeah.
in the
Like I said,
future,
they
I can
didn't
give
let
you
me
that
change the
address
address. But
for next time. If you want to send me
mhm.
some, I'll give you the address of wherever I
Oh
am.
yeah, I just got a thing saying it was delivered last Monday, and then I think it was like Wednesday that I asked. I was like, "Oh, I didn't hear from Joe if he got his books." So I was like, I should probably make sure that he actually got them, and you didn't. So
Yeah, it was a bummer. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Even if I never get it, it's still a good Christmas gift. I yeah, I only got a few people gifts this year. Did you end up testing that code out that I gave you?
Yeah, no, I use it. I have it. I haven't bought anything with it, but
Yeah, I
which
figured
they
that
have
would be
they have a
useful.
holiday sale going right now. I picked up some things the other day. So I have
Nice.
it's nice to have a little cash sitting on my account whenever I might use it to pre-order Elden Ring or something since it's coming out here soon.
Yeah, I'll probably
Month.
pre-order that as well on the PlayStation Network.
Mhm.
I still don't know if I'll get a PS5, but maybe.
I mean, you could get a PS5 whenever you want. It depends on how much you want to spend. Because you can go on eBay right now and order one, but it's probably like $700 or
No, I'm
$800
not
for
going to
one.
do that.
Yeah.
But the new year's coming. They're going to do a new production of them.
Well, they
So
have a new product. They have them constantly being shipped
churned
over. It's
out.
just they get sold so
Well, and
fucking
now we
quickly.
have the holiday season. Anything that got
Hmm.
bought was already bought.
Yeah.
So eventually it'll be accessible. But I
Yeah.
don't want to
Lots of
spend the
chip
money on it
shortages and
anyway.
stuff.
Chip shorts.
Yeah, it's just making the well, because like Sony said they want to be able to obviously produce more consoles and they just physically can't because they don't have the components to do enough.
Yeah.
So they're just like constantly, and then like they have to fight with every other electronics company and car manufacturer for the same sets of chips from these companies. So because all the new vehicles use them, I mean, fucking
Yeah.
everything uses them these days. Even fucking coffee pots have little computer chips in them and
Little
shit. So
processors.
yeah.
Yeah, well, whoever's making them needs to start a new factory and build more of them. Or
I
somebody
know you
needs to
would think that like if you were
compete.
Microsoft or Sony, you'd be like, you know what, maybe we should just make our own fucking
Yeah,
factory and just literally it's just for our products. Just
make our own
Sony just
chips.
opens its own chip factory and it's just for making fucking PlayStations and Sony TVs
Yeah.
and shit. I'm sure it's probably ridiculously expensive to do that, and that's why they don't. It's easier just to
Buy them.
buy them from China where they
Yeah.
make them for next to
But
nothing.
is it like a monopoly? Is there only one company that makes that fucking chip?
There's only a couple of them, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is kind of slim pickings.
Slim pickings, dim jickens, flim
Dim
flickins.
chickens. Do you have any? So what? So you're gonna go to the store and you have
don't
no Christmas plans other than that? Huh? I'm gonna
Not
go
really.
marathon the Lord of the Rings movies. That's become like our Christmas tradition.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I'll probably just chill, watch some shows. There's a new movie on Netflix that I want to check out with Leonardo and Jennifer Lawrence. The
Oh yeah, don't look up.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah, that
I'll
looks
probably
good.
check that out. Maybe I'll go to the movies. Maybe I'll go see
Ooh.
the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, the new Spider-Man's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'll, sit alone in a dark theater and
No, you won't be
cry.
alone. There'll be countless other people around you. Just emotionally, you'll be alone, but physically, you'll be around lots of others.
Yeah. Emotionally, I'll definitely be alone because I'll make sure not to make any eye contact, or I'll try to make eye contact, but no one will make eye contact with me.
Mhm.
And it'll be even sadder.
Well, anytime you make eye contact with somebody, do the old double eyebrow raise, just like,
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Anything?
hey, how's it going?
Anything?
Yeah,
No.
Is
Okay.
this working for you? No. Okay, I'm creepy.
Okay. I know I'm creepy. My bad. No, that's gonna do it. I think we're about wrapped up here. I do want to do another shout out to the Flock Pod for all your U of O sports commentary. A couple of good guys over there. Check out that podcast, the Flock Pod. And
Flock my pod whenever you want.
yeah, Flock is pod. I don't know. I don't think I did anything new on the Joe's Notes blog website.
We didn't get any write-ins this week either. We had two
No.
in a row.
I actually did get an email. Let me tell you about it real quick.
Oh no.
It's really boring. It's like an ad kind of a email, but it's kind of
Oh
interesting.
damn. I thought it was somebody like maybe writing in and be like, I did not appreciate the answer about
Oh no, I would tell you about that.
arresting a baby for killing its mother during childbirth. I just don't think I think your answer was morally black at best. Anyway, just like some long diatribe about how insensitive the answer was.
That would make me happy.
That would have made me happy too, just to
Yeah.
have that interaction, It's like any interaction is a good one when you don't have hardly any.
So this is sent to Fleeting Thoughts podcast, right? So
Mhm.
it's brand new email. It's for the podcast, not for my blog, technically, right? So, but what they wrote is they wrote, "I saw you've read The Dichotomy of Leadership, and I thought you might love our to review our new book, On Purpose Leadership: Master the Art of Leading Yourself to Inspire and Impact Others." And then they give a quick blurb about the book, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. Maybe I don't know. I
Are they
usually
going to
don't
offer you
believe
to
these
send you a free
people.
copy? I
Yeah,
mean,
they offered to send me a
oh, okay,
book.
cool.
They said we can also provide free copies for your audience if you would like to do a giveaway. And maybe I'll take them up on it, but that was only like a week ago. Like, give me a break, people. I'm not in a hurry to fucking read your fucking book.
That's kind of cool though that they reached out, and especially if they sent you some copies of the book.
Well, I guess I can
You never
tell them
know.
to send me a copy. I just 90% of emails I get are fucking bullshit. They're
Mhm.
complete lies. They just want me to do something for them. And I
You're an
mean, maybe,
important guy, Joe. Everybody needs you to do something for them.
yeah, like lose my money and
I
open their
mean,
fucking spam fucking bullshit or their malware or whatever.
people are envious of me because usually whenever I have a new book come out, you review it for your blog, and people are like, how did you get into Joe Gray's blog?
I
How
know,
do you
right?
get featured in that? And
Yeah.
I tell them, well, I have some strings
Yeah.
and I pull them and it happens.
Yep.
Um,
I'm like your little marionette. You write a book and then you're like, write me a review, you piece of shit. And then I do.
I just know the right people to get me into Joe Notes blog.
Joe's Notes blog.
Joe's Notes.
There.
Oh my God, I
You
fucked it
fucked
up. I
it.
forgot
Now
that.
everyone's gonna go to
I
the wrong
forgot
website.
the possessive S at the end of your name because it's Joe's Notes blog.
You see, in order to get this book, they have to get my address. So now I got to send these people my address. And then who knows what bullshit they're gonna send me from
Yeah.
then on out. And then they're gonna come to my house and steal my other
Just give
books
him
that
your
you send
work
me.
address then.
Yeah, I could do that. But then they know where I work, and then they're gonna harass me at my work. I don't want anyone to know these things. Leave me
Yeah,
alone.
if I ever got something like that, I'd be like, no, no
I guess they
thanks.
could just send me a PDF. Send me a PDF of it. I don't want to deal with you
Send me the
fucking
Kindle
people knowing
version.
things about me and shit. I guess I could get a PO box just for this one fucking email. Just fucking
And you never
fucks.
know, it might be the beginning of something new for you. You
You know
might
what is
be
cool? I
request
did
some
get
other.
an I get an email from the writer of Odd Billy Todd.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so I got to respond to that one. That one is pretty cool. NC Reed, he wrote Odd Billy Todd, and I did a review, and then I had a roundtable review of it as well, which was fun. But he's like an independent author. He has a ton of books.
Mhm.
He's pretty cool.
I mean, I'd
Um,
reach out. I mean, if somebody like did a review on my, on my books,
yeah,
and somebody was like, "Hey, you should check out this review this person wrote," I would send them. Someone was like, "Hey, thanks for reviewing the book." That's what the kind of fun thing about interacting with independent art is. You do actually have a pretty decent chance of like having the opportunity to speak to the writer or the artist or something, just because I mean, they're not going to. Chances are they're not somebody with like millions of fans and like are super fucking busy and can't interact with everybody. A lot of us are pretty humble people who, when then we get some emails or some messages, we are appreciative.
yeah. I think people overestimate the pretentiousness of people who create things.
Mhm.
Like you always think they're so cool, they wouldn't like. I know some, like there's musicians that I think are so amazing. I would never reach out to them because I would just assume they'd think I was just some loser.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they don't think like that. They
No,
just
so a
are
lot of
people.
independent people are they just work full-time jobs, and the writing or music or painting or whatever they do, it's like just a hobby that they have that they, spend their free time working on. So,
Well, even if it's their job,
mhm.
they just are a person and lots of people write them and they probably appreciate it and every once in a while check it out.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't be all pissed off because everybody is
Yeah,
sending me
because
money.
somebody else took the time out of their day to write you something saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
thanks for, this is a great story," or
I
"Great
love you.
blog
I want to
post, Joe.
bang
I
you.
appreciated you reviewing my novel. It was able to
Yeah,
give
it's
me a
cool.
little bit bigger of an audience or something." Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that he listened to the podcast about it and he said we did had some cool guesses and if we want to talk about it, we could let him
Oh,
know.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you haven't read that book, so you don't know what we're talking about.
I know I haven't.
You don't
So
even have that book. I don't
I
even
don't.
know. You can get it on Amazon, but
You can get everything on Amazon. I actually
Yeah.
bought a small child from Amazon the other day.
Yeah. Little and they're right here. Look, little chimichanga.
Come say hello, Chimichanga.
Come here, little chimichanga. Hello, little guy.
It's a little
Hello.
Asian kid.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Rob, my name is
Oh,
Chimichanga.
my adopted dad called me Chimichanga.
Yes.
We almost made it through an episode without being totally racist pieces of shit. So
I love you,
almost made it.
Channing. I love you. Thanks for adopting me.
Mhm.
Little baby. Jimmy.
I'm part of the chip shortage problem. I'm supposed to be over there making chips.
Yeah, you take me away from hell.
Now I'm here. And it's gonna snow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just bumped my fucking desk with my
Yeah,
fat knee.
you got a jiggle fucking video. All right, that's gonna do it for the Christmas episode. Fleeting Thoughts
Woo!
podcast.
Merry
Have a
Christmas, everybody. I hope
Merry
you got what
Christmas.
you wanted. And if you didn't, then just go buy it. Put
Yeah.
yourself in debt for it. It's worth it. You might
Yeah.
die tomorrow.
Yeah, you probably will. Because of the snow.
Mhm.
Snow kills.
It's true.
People
Snow
don't kill
kills.
people. Snow kills people.
Mhm.
All right. Bye-bye, people.